Okay, here we have the steaming of this 1948 SE1. You can probably hear it in the background. It does tend to prime a little bit, even though the boiler's not been overfilled, or overfilled rather. And you see this is running this new little workshop now, comprising of these cast iron bodied tools. That's a grinder and a polisher, and it's driving that via a little sort of makeshift homemade line shaft, which you see it's having no trouble whatsoever in actually driving. It always tends to get a little bit wet on the startup. The engine obviously is brass wheeled variety with a hot stamp brass engine frame and a regulator. The only time the SE1 actually had a regulator. I still call it an SE2 to be honest. And so you can see the tools being driven around quite easily. See the grinder very early, cast iron body, square retaining nuts, just as you see them on the white boxes, which carry both St Mary's Row and Camden Street addresses. They're obviously a little bit later, not exactly after the war, because they've got these slight raised bases where Maylands engineers, sometime around 48, 49, acquired the press tools to actually do that low level pressing. Certainly not the higher level that you saw on the later 1950s raised base steam engines. So anyway, it's settling down now, and having no problems running these two charming little tools. You see the line shaft just stretches across. The lamp's easy to actually get in, you just put it in sideways. So you put it in that way, works perfectly well. All of this has had a good oiling before putting steam in, so we've got oiling hose for the plain bearings on the engine frame, as well as you notice the oil hose at the top for the long bearings on each of the two tools. And picking out a fair few revs now. They're very short stroke engines these are, so they spin quite quickly. Not a great deal of torque, I would say, what you get possibly with a longer stroke, but running very well nonetheless. You see it's pushing out a nice head of steam. You can see the drive fan there flexing a little bit on the video. Going to keep these reasonably loose. If it is too tight across here, it will pull on the bearing, making it harder for the engine to actually turn, but I've sort of got the tensions just right now. Going back to the engine, you see this one has the earlier sort of large safety valve design. They have various designs, but this one is sort of typical of the design after the war. It also uses a hex nut for the overflow plug. Base plate is original, unpainted. I did repaint the firebox on this some time ago now when I acquired the engine. There are the remains of a blue oval decal on the base plate. Cylinder on the engine obviously is a barrel type cylinder. It's one piece of brass. Got a brass crank on this one, though it's not monogrammed with the logo at all. The little line shaft itself is just a couple of little trunnions brackets, and essentially just 3 pulleys. This extra pulley in here is just keeping that centralised on the shaft to stop it from sliding out. You can see obviously also with the sort of steel frames, the long steel frame SE1s and SE2s, there's no superheating on it. So you get the pipe that comes right out of the top. So in some respects, you get slightly drier steam, I suppose. Or you'll get a dry steam because it acts almost like a dome, and so any water vapour, any water tends to drop back down the side. Boiler's sooting up again already. I'll give it a wipe down afterwards. You chassis, obviously, all post-war engines have the Mamod logo on the actual engine frame. The pre-war ones tended not to have it. So apart from that, not really much else to say. It's just say, like I said in the one of the threads on the forum, if you see some tools, look out for these. They're generally screwed to the base, the cast iron ones. The logo on it is debossed into the metal, and they tend to be a little bit weightier, as well as sort of looking out for square nuts on here. Obviously the polishing mop has the strange coloured felt mops on them, but they're well worth looking out for, because there's, they're not exceptionally rare, but they're certainly not common. And if you're looking to sort of create a little workshop which is sort of bang on period, and I know some people like to do that, then by all means go for it. I mean, I'm hoping ultimately I've left sort of spaces here that I might be able to get another brass wheeled hammer and a punch to complete my third full brass wheeled period workshop, but I think we'll have to wait a while for those to come along yet. I'm just going to pop a little bit of oil on this one. I tend to find it benefits from a little blob of oil through a run. See, it's got quietened down a little bit now. It's running very, very smoothly. Obviously this has got a slightly smaller boiler than the almost identical SE2 variant of this particular time period, although obviously it doesn't have a whistle. Instead you get the union nut going straight through the boiler band. It tends to make these boiler bands quite fragile, because obviously you've got a damn great hole going through them. So if they're very, very rusty and you're sort of bending it, it has a tendency to snap in two. So there we have it, a 1948 Mamod Se1 flat base steam engine driving a pair of cast iron pedestal bodied tools of the same period, a grinder and a polisher, all being held together with a simple little Meccano chassis. So I hope you liked this video, and watch out for some more very, very soon.